towards the former President Uhuru Kenyatta to the him affected the growth of global economy negatively, clearly withdrawing the government from the stands that were made by the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua during his swearing-in period. Davis Karani reports.
Wakati tumechagua hii serikali, tumekuwa na matatizo ya kiuchumi. Na hiyo matatizo haikuletwa na serikali ya Uhuru Kenyatta.
It is a new direction that the broad-based government is taking in what many would term as trying to mend ways, with the former head of state President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta trying to move away from the statement that Gachagua released in 2022 during his swearing-in ceremony as the country's second in command.
Our new president and his team have a difficult task ahead. The truth of the matter is that we have inherited a dilapidated economy that is facing almost an economic shutdown. We have a 10 trillion public debt. 6 million Kenyans have no employment. 14 million Kenyans are in CRB. We have a demoralized public service. It is your prayers that will help our president to put up a team and start work from day one to liberate this country economically and put it back to where President Mwai Kibaki left us 10 years ago.
And Kindiki's statement and speech full of defense to Ruto's administration, stating that it has achieved a lot in terms of bringing growth to the country's economic status, leading to a boost and promotion of the common mwananchi through creation of job opportunities and the reduction of the price of the common commodities like unga across the country.
Wiki mbili zilizopita, Benki ya Dunia na Shirika la Fedha Duniani limesema ya kwamba katika miaka miwili ambayo imepita, uchumi wa Kenya kwa ujumla umeimarika, na leo Kenya ambayo 2022 ilikuwa uchumi namba 8 barani Afrika, leo wiki mbili zilizopita Benki ya Dunia imesema uchumi wa Kenya sasa sio namba 8, sio namba 7, ni namba 6 katika bara la Afrika.
The DP speech, which seemed to be bringing back his boss's 2022 general election strategy and the implementation of the Kenya Kwanza slogan on kazi ni kazi, filled the air.
Na wakati wa campaign tulisema kazi ni kazi. Ule akona permanent and pensionable, hiyo ni kazi. Ule akona contract ya 5 years, hiyo ni kazi. Ule akona kazi ya muda kidogo, hiyo ni kazi. Wacha ifanye, tukingojea ile kazi ingine ya long term.
Kazi ni kazi. Kama ile ya Prime Minister wanatafuta ni kazi, tunataka tuwaambie hata ajira ya hawa vijana pia ni kazi. Yani mnasema tupange uchumi kwanza, na tuanze na juu ama tuanze na hapa chini? Hapa chini. Kwa hawa vijana hawana kazi, alafu tuende kwa hawa kina mama mboga, boda boda na hawa watu wengine tuinue biashara yao. Mnasema tuanze na hapa chini, hapa kwa bottom, hapa bottom hapa, alafu tuende up.
Is the political atmosphere beckoning? Time will tell. Davis Karani for GBS News, Nairobi.
Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya supporters blocked the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission EACC officers and the police from arresting the governor at his home. Led by the DAP Kenya party leader Eugene Wamalwa, they vowed to protect the governor from what they term as the government's intimidation of its critics.
Chaos and melee at the home of Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya in Kilimani Estate in Kitale Town, as his supporters blocked Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission officers in the company of police officers from arresting him. Led by area leaders, amongst them DAP Kenya leader Eugene Wamalwa, they accused the government of harassing its critics using state agency.
Whether you use the police or not, hata utumie jeshi, wewe ni one term.
Hakuna siku ambayo utatisha Waluhya, hakuna siku ambayo utatisha Natembeya.
Tutaamua kama ni kukufa kupona, lazima tu protect governor. Na Alan Chesang utajua mahali penye utakuwa una land. Ukianza hii mchezo yenye unaanza na kudili na sisi, ukiguza Natembeya umeguza Mluhya. Ukiguza na Natembeya umeguza mtu wa Trans Nzoia. Sasa maneno yako chuma chako chi motoni.
Sisi tulidanganywa na Wetangula tukakupigia kura kama jamii ya Waluya. Raundi hii ikiwepo unakuja na hii tabia ya kutuma hao watu waje wanyanyase Natembeya, my friend, sahau kura ya jamii ya Waluya.
Police vehicles were inflated, stoned and vandalized. The youth then proceeded to hold a public rally in Kitale town, rallying support for the governor. Business in the town was disrupted. Likewise, transport along the busy Eldoret-Kitale highway was also paralyzed for the better part of the day, as the youth set tiles on fire on the road. More police officers had to be deployed to bring back normalcy. Victor GBS News.
A deadly fire swept through the Mathare area of Nairobi in the early hours of Monday, claiming 5 lives and leaving 4 others critically injured. The incident, which occurred around 2 a.m., has plunged the densely populated neighborhood into mourning. Confirming the tragedy, Nairobi Regional Police Commander George Seda expressed deep sorrow over the loss of life.
Moto ilitokezea, kuna nyumba iko hapa inakuanga nyumba ya mabati lakini ni gorofa. Sasa moto venye ilianza, moto ilianza na chini na ikachoma stairs. Sasa venye ilichoma stairs, sasa wale wa juu kuona moto imetoka na moto imeanzia chini, kuangalia wakapata stairs ishachomeka. Hakuna venye watatoka. Sasa kuna wanaume wawili wenye walijihami na wakajirusha chini. Sasa tunaomba tu serikali kama inaweza tusaidia.
Juu mimi nimebaki mkono tupu, sijui nianze wapi na nimalize wapi. Mke wangu ameniacha, mke wangu ameniacha, mke wangu.
Mumias East MP Peter Salasya is now pointing an accusing finger at the DCI investigations, claiming his dramatic arrest last week was not just unlawful, but an outright abduction. Salasya, who was intercepted and detained along the Isiolo-Nanyuki highway, alleges that masked individual armed men believed to be DCI officers used excessive force, shot at his vehicle and failed to properly identify themselves. The Member of Parliament is now demanding answers, insisting that the operation was not only aggressive but politically motivated. Our reporter Susan Nganga has more on the story.
I was unlawfully and violently arrested. These are the words of Mumias East Member of Parliament Peter Salasya after he was released on a 200,000 cash bail after being apprehended on Friday, May 16, along the Isiolo-Nanyuki highway.
I was arrested like as if I'm a robber or I've killed someone, a murderer or something like that.
The Member of Parliament has come out faulting the Directorate of Criminal Investigations boss, Muhammad Amin, over what he describes as an abduction.
I want to tell the Director of Criminal Investigation that he should use his office appropriately. He should use and follow the law, because power is transient, and we know today we are being harassed. Today, I should not be mishandled the way they did, just because I've announced my presidential bid.
The legislature says the officers who arrested him were not only in plain clothes, but used excessive force and failed to properly identify themselves. Salasya recounted being intercepted by several unmarked vehicles, allegedly resembling those used by Kenyan detectives. Then, a terrifying moment, he claims the officers fired at his tires and even aimed directly at him before disabling his vehicle. His bodyguards were safely disarmed, and what followed, the Member of Parliament describes was a heavily coordinated takedown involving at least 15 masked, heavily armed men. They handcuffed him and bundled him into one of their vehicles without a word and without a warrant.
I want first of all to condemn the incident because from the information that we have got, remember it was on Saturday when we came to our residence where we were staying in Mombasa, and what they did, because if they are government officers, there must be a procedure of arresting an officer who is also guarded by other officers, because it can turn to be dangerous. Like maybe you are thinking that these are genuine, maybe they are not police, or it can turn into something else. So when we assumed it, then they came on that particular day, on Friday, and they decided to shoot our car. And I think that was, it could have turned into something else. It is only by the grace of God that we are alive today.
Salesia's arrest came just days after a series of political rallies in Isiolo and Meru, and followed a previous attempt to detain him in Mombasa.
Wakisema left inakuwa left. Na hiyo ndio heshima ambayo watu wa Meru wanajulikana nayo. Meru, nataka niseme asante.
Susan Nganga, GBS News, Nairobi.
Well, it is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming to social media platform, GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 2114. We'll be right back.
Water remains to be the world's most precious commodity, but is the most misused. In times of drought, saving water is the only solution to making sure you have it. Don't use the shower when water is scarce. Instead, use the basin while bathing. Repair all leaking taps and pipes. Wash your car only whenever necessary. If not, use a piece of cloth to wipe it clean. Do not use the hose pipe to water your garden. Instead, use the water you clean your vegetable with to water your flowers. Do not release wastewater into rivers. Note that your downstream is someone else's upstream. Of all the waters available on Earth, only 1% is fit for human consumption. Every drop counts.
Welcome to Fun Dance Class. Today we will continue learning about Jingle Bell Rock. Friends, first you cross your arm and put it on top of
In a move that has stirred political and administrative tensions, Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale this week announced the transfer of UHC health workers from the national government to county governments. The announcement, made during a press briefing on Monday, was framed as part of ongoing efforts to devolve health services and streamline delivery at the grassroots level. Now to our next story. The Kenya National Union of Teachers, NAT, has come out strongly against what it describes as increasing cases of harassment and intimidation targeting teachers across the country. In a firm statement issued today, the union officials condemned the mistreatment of educators, warning that the union will not stand by as its members face threats in the line of duty. Well, we are taking a short break. We'll be right back with more. And welcome back. In a move that has stirred political and administrative tensions, Health Cabinet Secretary Eden Duale this week announced the transfer of UHC health workers from the national government to county governments. The announcement, made during a press briefing on Monday, was framed as part of ongoing efforts to devolve health services and streamline delivery at the grassroots level.
The UHC staff since 2020 have been on a job group that is very discriminative compared to their colleagues. They almost earn, I think, a third of the salary that the rest of the colleagues earn.
The CS is trying to transfer his problem to us. Because if the UHCs that are at work are not funded in perpetuity, the moment their contract ends, they'll start demanding that counties absorb them. And all we're saying is, where is the money to absorb them?
The Kenya National Union of Teachers, NAT, has come out strongly against what it describes as increasing cases of harassment and intimidation targeting teachers across the country. In a firm statement issued today, the union officials condemned the mistreatment of educators, warning that the union will not stand by as its members face threats in the line of duty.
Walimu wanapitia changamoto mingi. Ukienda sehemu zile kafu kabisa, huku hakuna maji ya tap, hakuna maji. Walimu wanaletewa maji na jerrycans na watoto, na hao maji ingine they are not clean. Wanapata magonjwa huko, hakuna barabara mzuri, hakuna hospitali nzuri. The area is so difficult. Ni ngumu kabisa. Wako na changamoto mingi pale wanafanyia kazi.
Sisi kama wadharaka huwa tunasaidiwa, watoto wetu hawajasoma wengi sana. Walimu wa kutoka sehemu zingine wale wameletwa Tharaka, Gikuyu, Aembu na wale wengine wametoka sehemu nzuri wakitolewa Tharaka. Wale watoto wa Tharaka wamesoma wakakuwa walimu. Tutabaki wachache. Bado sehemu iko hadi. Bado hatujasomesha watoto wakuwe wengi, hatuna walimu wengi vile. Ndio tunaomba hii leadership allowance ambayo inapatia hawa motisha wakuja kufundisha Tharaka, hawa wa Kikuyu, hawa kutoka sehemu ambazo zimeendelea. Hii leadership inawapatia motisha, ndio inawapatia morali wakuja kutusaidia kufundisha watoto wetu. So tunaomba ikiondolewa inamaanisha walimu wenye tutabaki, wenye tumezaliwa wa Tharaka, tutabaki wachache.
The Kenya Forest Service, in conjunction with the Ministry of Trade, Investments and Industry and the local community, is on course in rehabilitating 500 hectares of degraded Irangi forest in Embu County. The forest measures 15,000 hectares and is home to a diverse range of wild animals including elephants, buffaloes, Columbus monkeys, dik-diks, and various bird species like hornbills and pigeons. Here's the full report.
The Kenya Forest Service, in collaboration with the Ministry of Trade, Investments and Industry, and also the local community, is making steady progress in rehabilitating 500 hectares of the once degraded Irangi forest.
Our target today was 20,000 trees in 20 hectares in Irangi forest. So we are hopeful that our contribution will go towards meeting the national target for the period that has been set.
Since the launch of the National Tree Growing and Restoration Campaign on December 21st, 2022, 400 hectares have already been rehabilitated as part of Kenya's ambitious plan to grow 15 billion trees by the year 2032.
For Irangi alone, if my memory serves me well, I think we've done like 40,000, around 40,000, 50,000, thereabout. We are targeting 100, our period is, for this 1 year, we are supposed to plant 100,000 trees. So maybe in the next 10 years, we do 1 million trees as a State Department for Trade, because each agency has been, ministry, department and agencies have been given their own respective targets. So we are supposed to, we have 2 sites. This is one of them in Embu County. Then we have another site in Narok that was assigned to our cabinet secretary.
Forest degradation, officials say, has been fueled by human activity, destruction by wildlife, and natural aging of trees.
What we can call degradation, sometimes you may ask why we continue planting. Some of these indigenous trees, once they get 100 years plus, they definitely fall down after their cycle is done. So when they fall with the vegetation around there, and that area becomes bare. So we continue planting in those patches. And also we have wild animals like buffaloes and elephants. They also tramp on those trees, and they create such.
Susan Nganga, GBS News.
Stellar report there by Susan Nganga. It is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 2114. We'll be right back.
And the question of the day is, can you survive without internet?
Ngumu, plus kuachilia hizo story tu zote zikupite ni ngori.
Niwaambie ukweli. Like hii ni kama kuambia mtu mwenye alikuwa amezoea kushindana nguo, mwambie toa nguo ushinde uchi. Hiyo huku atriki kwa sababu sasa like ilikuwa imekuingia kwa kichwa kabisa.
Mimi nimesomea day school na niocha. So kukuwa na simu hadi ni ile katururu, si smartphone, ni ile katururu.
Sasa unaweza kaa holi ya bila simu.
Kuspend hii most of the time kwa simu. Also you need to run skills. So nilikutana na later hapa nikapo apply huko. And then I started learning skills. Digital skills.
Yes, hadi siku mbili haiwezi.
Kwa wiki naachilia hata kama ni siku mbili ama sometimes na extend to wiki nzima. Napata shiki simu yangu.
Everywhere, GBS.
And welcome back to international news. Pope Leo XIV was yesterday officially inaugurated as the Catholic head bishop about 2 weeks after his election as Pope by the College of Cardinals in a ceremony attended by other world leaders, including American Vice President J.D. Vance. At the St. Peter's Square, the Pope called for peace and unity in the world.
Moved slowly but surely in his mobile vehicle, waving and greeting the mammoth crowd that had gathered at the St. Peter's Square yesterday to witness his inauguration as the Pontiff of the Catholic Church. And then the moment of the day came.
Grant you the gentle out into the deep sea of history and to let down its nets. And Pope Leo takes the book of the Gospels and holds it up for veneration of all the faithful.
inaugural speech, Pope Leo XIV reiterated the importance of peace and unity in the world.
Out this task, the gospel tells us that it is possible only because his own life was touched by the infinite and unconditional love of God, even in the hour of his faith.
Notable leaders in attendance included USA Vice President J.D. Vance, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, among others. Pontiff has now assumed his cardinal role of shepherding the more than 1.4 billion Catholic faithfuls around the world, taking over from the late Pope Francis. Victor Udun.
Tragedy has struck Mogadishu once again. A deadly suicide bombing has rocked the Damanyo military base, killing at least 10 young army recruits and injuring dozens more. The bomber targeted a queue of hopefuls waiting to join the Somali army, unleashing chaos and devastation. While no group has claimed responsibility, suspicions immediately turned to the Al-Shabaab militant group known for its brutal insurgency across the region. Here's the full report.
A suicide bombing struck the Damanyo military base in Mogadishu, Somalia, targeting a line of young recruits waiting to register for the army. The attack resulted in at least 13 deaths, with some reports suggesting even higher casualty figures, and left more than 20 people injured. The bomber approached the queue of teenagers and young men at the entrance of the Damanyo base and detonated explosives, causing a powerful blast. Eyewitnesses described scenes of chaos, with bodies scattered and people fleeing in all directions.
subaxii 4 saac ilaa 3 saacadood horeysa waxaana loo keenay dad dhalinyaro badan oo dhaawaca tirada dhaawacana loo keenay waxay gaarayeen ilaa 6 qofood oo dhaawacooda aad u darnaa wax dhimasho markaas baysan jirin dhaawacooda wuxuu kasoo kala gaaray madaxa iyo caloosha dhammaantoodna waxaa loo sameeyey qaliin ilaa hadda qaliin ku jiraan laba ka mid ah dhaawacyadaas xaaladooda way fiican tahay oo waxay jibaan qaybta bukaanjiifka afar ka midna waa madaxa wuxuu kasoo gaaray qaliimadoodan ilaa hadda way socdaan waxaan rajaynaynaa inay caafimaad doonaan insha Allah.
No group has immediately claimed responsibility for the bombing. However, Mogadishu has frequently been targeted by the Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab militant group, which has waged a long-running insurgency against the Somali government and often attacks military and government installations. The attack comes amid heightened tensions following the assassination of Colonel Abama Hujja, a battalion commander in the Hiran region, about Al-Shabaab infiltrating Somalia security forces.
Tensions are rising once again in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where the M23 rebels have expelled hundreds of civilians from the city of Goma. The group claims the individuals were illegal Rwandan nationals, but human rights concerns are growing over the forced removal and destruction of legal documents. Here's the full report.
The M23 rebels have expelled hundreds of civilians from the eastern Congolese city of Goma, claiming they were illegal Rwandan nationals. Witnesses say entire families were forced onto trucks, while Congolese issued ID documents were banned. On Monday, M23 spokesperson Willy Ngoma presented 181 people, alleging they were Rwandan, along with their wives and children. Many of those expelled were from the Karenga region in North Kivu, previously controlled by the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, also known as the FDLR, a Rwandan rebel group accused of atrocities. Both M23 and the Rwandan government accused Kinshasa of backing the FDLR as violence intensifies in the already unstable region. UN experts report that M23 is supported by roughly 4,000 Rwandan troops. According to the UN Refugee Agency, 360 people were repatriated to Rwanda on Saturday, most of them displaced residents from camps near Sake. With the conflict escalating, Eastern Congo faces a deepening humanitarian crisis, leaving thousands in limbo and raising serious concerns over forced displacement and human rights violations. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
The Israel military announced yesterday that it has launched extensive ground operations across the Gaza Strip, intensifying its campaign to dismantle Hamas and secure the release of remaining hostages. The escalation comes as international concern grows over the deepening humanitarian crisis in the region. According to Palestinian health officials, more than 100 people were killed in overnight strikes, highlighting the rising toll on civilians as the conflict enters a new phase. Here is more on the same.
The Israeli military has initiated extensive ground operations across the Gaza Strip, intensifying its campaign to dismantle Hamas and secure the release of hostages. This escalation follows a 10-week blockade that has exacerbated the region's humanitarian crisis. According to Palestinian health officials, more than 100 individuals were killed in overnight strikes, many of whom were sheltering in schools and hospitals.
What is the fault of these children, of these women? Isn't this forbidden? Isn't it unjust? Does no one see us? Are we sheep being slaughtered? My father died. My mother died. And my niece lost her eye.
Israel's ongoing military campaign, dubbed Gideon's Chariot, has expanded across both northern and southern Gaza, with heavy airstrikes resulting in over 130 Palestinian deaths over the weekend and further casualties reported today. Critical infrastructure, including major hospitals like Nasser and the Indonesian hospital, have been severely damaged, worsening an already dire humanitarian situation.
After the 7th of October, probably most of us wanted to start a war against the Gazan as people. But after a while, we understand that this government is not representing us anymore. It represents only the extremists.
The UN and aid groups warn that 1 in 5 Gazans now face starvation. Under growing international pressure, Israel has agreed to allow limited food supplies into Gaza, but aid agencies have criticized the proposed delivery system, possibly involving armed contractors, as ineffective and potentially leading to forced displacement.
The policy of siege and starvation makes a mockery of international law. The blockade against humanitarian aid must end immediately. And I say again, nothing justifies the atrocious October 7 terror attacks by Hamas, but nothing justifies the collective punishment of the Palestinian people.
As Israel's ground operations in Gaza intensify, the humanitarian situation grows more dire. The international community faces increasing pressure to address the crisis and facilitate a resolution to the conflict. With over 53,000 Palestinians and 1,200 Israelis reported dead since the conflict began, the need for a sustainable peace agreement has never been more urgent.
589 days of hell since the October 7th massacre, and instead of bringing them all home by agreeing to the deal that is on the table, Netanyahu is dragging us into a needless political war that will lead to the death of the hostages and soldiers.
Beatrice Wangoi, the ambassador.
Great job there by Betty. Now it's time for us, your favorite segment of the bulletin, the sports news. Let's get sporty. Sofapaka delivered one of the most shocking results of the Kenya Premier League season on Sunday, a ruthless 7-1 demolition of title contenders Tusker FC. The heavy defeat not only embarrassed the Brewers but also dealt a massive blow to their hopes of reclaiming the league crown. Tusker head coach Charles Okere was visibly livid, slamming his team's performance and demanding answers after what he described as a completely unacceptable display. With just 2 matches left and rivals Kenya Police FC inching closer to their first ever league title, the pressure is on. Can Tusker recover, or has the title already slipped away? Our sports desk has the details.
Tusker FC head coach Charles Okere was left fuming after his side suffered a humiliating 7-1 defeat to Sofapaka at the Dandora Stadium on Sunday.
Nishukuru Mungu, mechi imeisha, lakini imekuwa kama umeona, imekuwa hatujaifanya the worst performance ever. Na naweza sema sijui ni saikolojia ni nini, lakini wachezaji wako kwa hali ambao wangeweza kufanya lolote. Ukiangalia chochote tunajaribu kufanya, hakuna kitu inaenda according to our plan. Sasa unajiuliza kama kuna chochote, because zingine unashangani kama watu wanaachilia tu mabao yaingie, na unajiuliza na wachezaji ambao tumeinvest kwao, hakuna haja tungangane hivyo. Ligi ni marathon, tumengangana, tumefika mpaka pale tumefika, na tunakuja kuachilia kwa wakati huu. Ni aibu sana, wacha niseme hivyo, tumejiaibisha. Hii ni Tusker, ni timu kubwa, lakini sisi tunapongeza pia Sofapaka, walikuwa wanaonyesha ile hali ya kucheza, lakini sisi tunacheza tu tuonekane ni kama tumekuja tukicheza mechi. Hiyo haiwezi kubalika, hiyo haiwezi kubalika.
The loss shattered their title hopes and left Okere demanding answers from a team he says lacked fight and focus.
Ukiangalia ukifungwa mabao 7 inamaanisha hata defensively kama timu nzima tumekuwa yani tunaachia ni kama mpinzani tu any chance anapata anafunga. Hiyo haiwezi kubalika. Hii ni Tusker, hii ni timu kubwa, inataka character. Kama mchezaji ameshindwa aache. Sasa tutasema nini? Kocha umefanya kazi yako uwanjani, umetayarisha wachezaji, wengine wanapigana, wengine wanalegeza. Haiwezi kuwa hivyo, haiwezi kuwa hivyo.
The result has left Tusker FC title hopes hanging by a thread. For the Brewers to stay in the race, Kenya Police FC must lose both of their remaining matches, while Tusker must win out against Kariobangi Sharks and Kakamega Homeboys. It's a long shot, but Okere insists they'll regroup and fight to finish the season with pride.
Kwa kweli ligi jaisha, hakuna yoyote ametangazwa mshindi. Kwa hivyo sisi tutasukuma mpaka dakika ya mwisho, lakini Tusker ni timu kubwa, inataka character. Hatuwezi kuwa tunacheza tu mpira ambao ueleweki, na tumefanya kila kitu, tunajua vile mbinu ambazo tutatumia kumpinga mpinzani wetu, lakini tukifika kwa kiwanja mambo inakuwa ni nyingine tofauti. Yote 9, namshukuru Mungu imeisha, lakini kesho pia tuamke tufanye kazi, tupigane zaidi. Hakuna lingine la kusema, lakini ni hivyo imekuwa ni siku mbaya, imekuwa ni siku mbaya kabisa.
Still, the damage is done and the weight of disappointment is heavy. Meanwhile, Kenya Police FC are just 1 win away from their first ever Premier League title after narrowly defeating Talanta FC 1-0. The title race is nearly over and the next 90 minutes could make history. Elvin Muyodi, GBS Sports.
Arsenal has ended another trophyless season after failure to challenge for the Premier League and Champions League semi-final exit, but which players can transform them in 2025-2026. Well, we have come to the end of the news bulletin. It is always a pleasure having you on board. Let's do this again next time, same channel. We make your news our business. My name is Stephen George, and our sign language interpreter tonight has been Paul Madenge. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.